Have you ever met someone for the first time? Someone everyone else instantly trusted, admired, even celebrated, and felt something tighten inside you? Nothing obvious, no proof, no reason you could explain. Just a quiet internal signal saying, something here doesn't add up. So you stayed silent. You watched as people welcomed them. You watched as doors opened for them. You wondered if you were being unfair, too critical, too suspicious. And then, months later, the story unraveled. The manipulation surfaced. The betrayal became visible. The mask slipped. Everyone was shocked. Everyone except you. Because you sensed it before there was evidence. If this pattern has followed you through life, you're not lucky, and you're not psychic in the mystical sense. What you're experiencing is high-level intuition, not magic, not fantasy. It's your brain detecting patterns faster than your conscious mind can explain. Most people listen to words. You notice what sits underneath them. Most people see behavior. You notice inconsistency. And while this ability can look like a gift from the outside, it often feels like a burden from within. Today, we're breaking down 7 signs that your mind operates with unusually high intuitive resolution, and why this is often accompanied by isolation, doubt, and quiet responsibility. High-level intuition is often misunderstood. Society treats intuition as emotional, irrational, or unreliable. But in reality, intuition is the end product of subconscious data processing. Your conscious mind can process a limited amount of information at once. Your subconscious, however, is constantly scanning tone, posture, micro-expressions, timing, context, and history. Most people filter this information out so they can stay comfortable. You don't? Your intuitive mind stays open. That's why insight arrives quickly. And that's also why it can feel overwhelming. This isn't about being right all the time. It's about noticing patterns earlier than most. With that framework in place, let's look at the signs. Sign 1. You detect incongruence immediately. You're not suspicious by nature. You're sensitive to mismatch. When someone speaks, you instinctively compare their words to their tone, their timing, their energy, and their behavior. When those elements don't align, something registers internally. It doesn't feel like a thought. It feels like friction. Most people want to believe what sounds pleasant. You struggle to ignore what feels inconsistent. Compliments that carry tension. Warm smiles that don't reach the eyes. Confidence that feels rehearsed. This is why charm rarely works on you. You sense the hook inside the offer before the pitch is finished. It's also why people sometimes call you negative or judgmental, even when you've said nothing at all. You're simply noticing what others unconsciously overlook. Sign 2. You think in trajectories, not moments. When most people see a behavior, they judge it in isolation. You don't. Your mind immediately asks, if this repeats, where does it lead? A small lie? A subtle disrespect? A pattern of avoidance? You don't obsess over the single event. You project the pattern forward. You see how it compounds over time. This is why you often know how relationships will end long before they do. Why you sense when a project, company, or dynamic is unstable early on. You try to explain. You offer gentle warnings. You're told you're overthinking. Later, when events unfold exactly along the path you saw, people ask how you knew. You didn't predict the future. You read the pattern? Sign 3. You read environments, not just people. Your intuition doesn't switch off when individuals leave the room. You feel atmospheres. You walk into a space and immediately sense tension, instability, or emotional residue. A conversation that ended badly. A conflict that hasn't been spoken aloud yet. Crowded or chaotic environments drain you quickly, not because you dislike people, but because your nervous system is processing too much information at once. You're often the first to notice when a room shifts, when humor turns sharp, when a celebration is about to collapse into conflict. You don't wait for the explosion. You sense the pressure building. Sign 4. Insights arrive fully formed. When you face a complex decision, brute force logic rarely works. You think, you analyze, you stall, then you disengage. And suddenly the answer arrives whole, not as a list of pros and cons, but as clarity. It doesn't feel emotional. It feels resolved. This happens because your subconscious continues working while your conscious mind rests. When the pattern completes, it surfaces. The challenge isn't receiving these insights, it's trusting them responsibly. High-level intuition requires calibration. It improves through feedback, humility, and reflection. When ignored completely, it creates regret. When followed blindly, it creates error. Mastery lies in learning when to listen and when to verify. Sign 5. You experience distance, even among others. When you notice patterns constantly, it becomes difficult to stay fully immersed in surface-level interaction. You observe people playing roles, avoiding truths, repeating behaviors that will hurt them later. You understand why they do it, but that understanding creates distance. You crave conversations that move beyond performance, beyond scripts, beyond polite fiction. This doesn't make you antisocial. It makes you selective. You would rather be alone with clarity than surrounded by noise that feels dishonest. Sign 6. Your body reacts before your mind does. Your intuition isn't confined to thought. It shows up physically. Tightness in the chest, a sudden heaviness, a wave of unease with no obvious cause. This isn't imagination. The nervous system detects threat and safety faster than conscious reasoning. When your body signals discomfort, it's often responding to subtle cues your mind hasn't articulated yet. You've learned, sometimes painfully, that reasoning your way against these signals often leads to trouble. Your body doesn't argue, it reports. Sign 7. You carry quiet responsibility. Seeing patterns doesn't make you superior. It makes you accountable. You notice dynamics earlier. You sense consequences sooner. That means your choices carry weight. High-level intuition demands restraint. It requires boundaries. It asks you to act carefully, not react emotionally. The real challenge isn't seeing more than others. It's deciding what to do with what you see. If you recognize yourself in these signs, understand this. You weren't built to ignore your intuition, but you weren't built to worship it either. Intuition is a tool, a compass, not a throne. The world is loud. People perform. Patterns repeat. Your role isn't to control others or prove insight. It's to stay honest with yourself. When that quiet internal signal speaks, softly, calmly, without drama, listen. Then think. Then act with discipline. Because the people who see clearly aren't defined by how much they notice. They're defined by how responsibly they respond. Subscribe if you want depth, not labels.